we can share that later. Okay, we are recording now. We have a total of 8 participants currently. Did you sign on by chance, Jason? Oh, okay. If you could, what's that? You don't have to. All right. So let's get into it today. We're going to go ahead and get started. Hang on a second. My phone, it's following it. I don't know what the volume there. There we go. So, let's talk about the House Bill 5 endorsements. And I might take it out of that completely, I guess. There we go. So let's talk about House Bill 5 endorsements. It's going to start off with, if you'd like to go to gg.gg.r10 /R10CTE, all the materials for today's session have been uploaded. If you didn't get our email from earlier, let's see if we can do another share here. We're going to share a new screen. So let's go over to, nope, I just want to go to our regular screen. So let me, let's see here. Okay. Bear with me here while I get oriented to why my computer's not sharing the screen I wanted to. My apologies. We have several screens open. Let me get rid of some screens here. Okay. Now we go to Zoom. Okay. So if you can see the CTE programming screen, are you on? Okay, good. All right. So what I'd like you to do is come over here to the HB5 Basics. That should have actually changed names this morning. It should be HB5 Basics and Endorsements, as it does have the endorsement PowerPoint in there. My apologies for the name change. Oh, there it is. So if you go down, you can download the endorsements PowerPoint. It's only a few PowerPoints. We're going to mainly be working off of the Chapter 74, 13, and then we're going to be working off of Chapter 89. So let's get into it. Let's get back over to our original PowerPoint. There we go. Okay, so let's come down. We're going to take a time to talk about 7412 B1 and hold on one second. It didn't sound off like I wanted it to. Okay, we're going to talk about 7412 B1. Just a reminder that Senate Bill 826 came out. It was signed by the governor back in June. This eliminated the need to take English 3 prior to English 4, as the old rule required a student to have completed successfully English 3 before English 4. I always like to throw that one out there. So currently we're waiting for the newest update to Chapter 7411 through 14. 74.11 through 74.14 of the Texas Administrative Code is going to be the code that we are using to graduate students who started the 9th grade in 2014 and thereafter, or students who are currently on the House Bill 5 Foundations graduation plan, even if they started before. If you have a senior who is maybe in a 5th-year student at the high school, they could technically fall under the old high school graduation plan or the current House Bill 5 Foundations graduation plan, depending on what they've elected to do. So that's just a side note there. 74.3, I always like to touch on 74.3. Just a reminder real quick, we'll visit the link. You don't have to open it if you don't want. Let's look at this real quick. And let me do a new share. Here we go. Okay, so 74.3.3 of the Texas Administrative Code is the required secondary curriculum. It tells you about what's required for the middle school and what's required for the high school. I always like to start off with this when we're talking about graduating students, because these are classes that your district or your LEA must offer. Your school must offer English 1, 2, 3, and 4, and at least one additional advanced course. Currently, under this rule, it must offer Algebra 1, Algebra 2, Geometry, Pre-Calculus, and Math Models with Applications. These numerous science classes, social studies in this form, physical education, fine arts, you must offer coherent sequences from at least 3 of the following 16 career clusters. What's really cool about this, if we look at this list, I love starting off with this. There are currently 16 career clusters identified by the Texas Workforce Commission. There are 16 career clusters identified by the U.S. Labor Department. And here in Texas, we have 16 career chapters within the TEKS, 17 total, counting that outlier, which would have your project-based research classes and your career prep classes, and then also your middle school classes for like career training. So there are 16 when it comes to the direct job skill sets that are out there. I always like to put that out there for you guys to understand. You got to offer LOTE. There's several options. You have to offer technical application, speech. So what I need y'all to understand is, if you see things on this list, your district has to offer them. That doesn't necessitate having to have a classroom with a teacher assigned to it. It means that those course offerings need to be available to students. They could be available in an online format, such as currently TXBSN, and things of that nature. If you have any questions about that, please don't hesitate to write us or send an email. I'll have my email address ready at the end of this. Let's close that tab out. Let's do a new share. Let's get back over to our PowerPoint. Here we go. That was 74.3. So 74.13, you're going to see this again. I'm going to touch on this so it's familiar to you when we get there. When we get into 74.13, we're going to be dealing directly with Chapter 89.1070 of the Texas Administrative Code, because it gives us the rules for students who are special ed, specifically when earning an endorsement. All right, so let's keep going further down. Here's where you can find the latest link to Chapter 74.13's update. This will take you to our page if you open that hyperlink. And it'll take you over to the gg.gg/R10CTE page. This is the R10CTE page we use to get information out to folks. Here's Chapter 89. And then currently, when we're looking at Chapter 74, this is the latest version that came out back in March. Now, it is a draft form. We're still waiting for final approval. It will not become official until it hits the internet. So once it is posted onto the internet, it'll be official rule of law. Until then, we're using it for planning and training purposes. Just so you know, if you wanted to download a copy of that. Let's get back over here. I'm going to hit this question. Hang on 1 second while we answer a question. Lost audio. Oh, I'm sorry. I don't have an answer for that one. Please call Janet here. You can dial 972-348-1334. Matter of fact, let me answer that. There we go. Okay. And let's get back over to our slideshow. And you'll also see we'll be going over this form that I've sent out on the email earlier, and it's also available on our website there that I showed you earlier. So these are the classes that will come available this year. There will be 1 English, 10 math classes, and if we count, there are a total of 12 science classes. And what those are is those are classes that not only does a student earn CTE credit, but they also earn core credit. So it's a way for a student to earn both CTE and core. The way this form has been formulated is as the name for the course, the credit with which will be satisfied. The reason I placed a 3rd or 4th level, it used to be the way it was written was that Algebra 1 and Geometry were the prerequisites for all other classes. and were the prerequisites for all other classes. And let me make sure I got this right. And that after Algebra 1 and Geometry, which will no longer be the rule, but we're still waiting for verification from SPOE to see how they're going to manage that Algebra 1 and Geometry. And then what'll end up happening is you'll still have to follow this diagram as far as that goes. We just don't know where the real big play on this is going to be with geometry, because it used to be you had to have Algebra 1 and Geometry before you could take any other math classes. And the reason we had the third versus the fourth tier was these classes here that were marked third tier would not allow for a student, if they took a total of 4 math classes, let's say they took Algebra 1, Geometry, say digital electronics and financial math, they would not qualify for an endorsement because they didn't have an upper tier math, an Algebra 2 or higher. Now, as far as Algebra 2 or higher goes, once a student takes Algebra 1, say they took Algebra 1, Geometry, and Algebra 2, then they could also take engineering, math, statistics, and business decision making, or math for medical professionals. That way, they would actually have 2 fourth level maths with that Algebra 2. If you have a student that cannot pass Algebra 2 but still needs to earn an endorsement, the only options you have are 2. You'll find those classes would be statistics non-CTE. That won't be this statistics class here. This statistics class here that's called statistics and business decision making has a prerequisite of Algebra 2. The other class would be algebraic reasoning. That is a general ed math class, non-CTE as well. Those are the only 2 upper level math classes that allow for a student not only to earn an endorsement, but get that 4th level, what I like to call a 4th level math. I'm going to have to change that term as we move forward from 3rd and 4th level, because it's not going to match up anymore if we don't have the sequence of Algebra 1 followed by Geometry before Algebra 2 or any other advanced maths. The sciences, once again, just follow the prerequisites. Over here are the certification links on the live page. Not on this one. This is simply a copy that's into the PPT. There are a couple other classes. Floral design can be used as a fine arts elective to satisfy for the basic graduation plan. We have not seen where it can be used to earn the fine arts endorsement. There's nothing out of Chapter 130. This class comes out of Chapter 130. If you see the PEAM service ID code, starts with a 130. We have not seen where this class can actually affect and allow for students to earn an endorsement, but it can be used for fine arts in that section. General employability skills class. This is a class that can be taught by a special ed teacher. That number has changed from N1290060 to N1270060. To last year it was a 129. This year it'll be a 127. I like to leave that up there so in case people ask, if you see 129, you're using the old CO22 document. We'll get into that here in a little while when we pull up the CO22. And last note here before we enter into Chapter 7413 actual, top 10% rule. A student has to be distinguished level of achievement. They have to be DLA. It says right here, at a public high school, curriculum requirements established under section 28025. That's the Texas Education Code for the distinguished level of achievement. So if you have a student that's going to graduate in the top 10%, they have to earn the high school diploma as the basic level. They have to earn the endorsement, and they have to have completed Algebra 2 in order to earn the distinguished level of achievement. So if they have an endorsement, which would require 4 maths and 4 sciences, coupled with one of those math classes being a Algebra 2 class, they would qualify for distinguished level of achievement. And they may not graduate top 10% unless they earn distinguished level of achievement. So let's jump over. We're going to jump over to Chapter 7413. Let me do a new share here. Are y'all seeing that? 7413 endorsements. Okay. So let's talk about the direct link to endorsements here. A student shall specify in writing an endorsement the student intends to earn upon entering 9th grade. So anytime you get asked a question on why do I have to write down what it is that I'm doing from a student or a parent, there's your rule right there. It's held in 7413A. 7413B holds a district shall permit a student to enroll in courses under more than one endorsement before the student's junior year and to choose at any time to earn an endorsement other than the endorsement the student previously indicated. This section does not entitle a student to remain enrolled to earn more than 26 credits. So they can't extend out their high school career simply by changing endorsements. A student must earn at least 26 credits to earn an endorsement. Let me give you an example of credits versus classes. If a student was to take a total of 22 credits to earn the basic foundations high school graduation plan, coupled with, let's say, welding 1 and welding 2, welding 1 and welding 2 coupled together to equal 4 credits, as each of those classes starting in 17, 18 are 2 credits each. So they would actually, in effect, take 24 classes to earn 26 credits. That's why we specify credits versus classes. A school district may define the advanced courses and determine a coherent sequence of 4 courses for an endorsement area, provided that prerequisites in chapters 110 through 118, 127, and 126, 127, and 130 of this title are followed. You will not find a list generated by TEA for advanced courses that you use to determine how students graduate at your school. The only advanced list that exists is a PDF advanced list that's used to determine if a student gets that $50 reward or award to a district. So if you have a student that is enrolled in 2 or more classes for 3 or more credits based off of the advanced courses list from TEA, you get a stipend, but it has nothing to do with you graduating your students on endorsements. So once again, the list for endorsements and advanced courses to earn endorsements is holistically generated within the district itself, as long as you meet the prerequisites that are established in the different chapters used to earn those endorsements. Okay, so to earn an endorsement, a student must demonstrate proficiency in the following: the curriculum requirements for the Foundation's high school graduation plan in 7412. That's the basic 22 credits, the 4 English, 3 math, 3 social studies, 3 science, 2 foreign language, the physical education, and the 5 credits. Now, we do have some schools that are adding to that are requiring students, in order to earn that Foundation's plan, to take, say, both health and a speech class, which is allowable. So if you want more information on that, just give me a call or send me an email. My email will be presented at the end of this session. A 4th credit in math. This is where it says that a 4th credit in math must come in. Now, if you notice, there's a specific list we're working off of. So if we were looking at a student who had taken Algebra 1 and geometry, and then we were like, well, what classes could we take after that? We could take any math to give us a 3rd math in any order. So if you had a student who literally took Algebra 1, Geometry, Algebra 2, then you could take any other math class. Now, you're not going to see any math class listed. You're going to see specific. When I say any math class, that's that financial math or agricultural math and natural resources. We'll go further in that list down the road. But those are what I consider the 3rd tier, the lower level maths. You got to get that Algebra 2 or at least one of these 2. These are yellow highlighted for a specific reason. These are the only 2 maths that fall under the 4th credit in math rule to earn an endorsement that do not require a student to take Algebra 2. If you go to the TEKS on the Texas Education Agency's website, you will find that algebraic reasoning and statistics do not require Algebra 2 as a prerequisite. Just a side note there. So we're going to need a 4th credit in math. Here is the list we can choose from. We have to take one of these mathematics options. And then we'll go to option 3. A student may complete a course listed in paragraph 2 of this subsection before and after completing a course listed in 7412B or 2A of this title. In other words, what that means is that if we go back here to paragraph 2, that if you took Algebra 2 prior to taking, say, math models, you would be fine. That's where that rule comes into effect. So I use math models as an example because a lot of people know what math models is. A 4th math credit may be a college preparatory math course that is developed and offered pursuant to Texas Education Code 28014. So if you were wondering about that college prep math, that's going to be in 7413E, and we come down 4. So you would write, and that would be, let's go back and look at the E so we can follow it correctly. It'll be 7413 right here, small e, and then we come down to the big number 4 for that college prep math. That's how we read that. And if you wanted to write that to somebody in the email to provide them with a source. Also, the additional credit in science, you've got to have an additional credit in science. And it says it may be selected from 1 full credit or a combination of 2 half credits from 2 different courses. subject to prerequisites. And here's that list of all the courses that are available. A large portion of these courses, like down here when you get advanced animal science, advanced plant and soil science, anatomy and physiology, are CTE courses. If you've attended my funding sessions, then you know that if you were to take, instead of taking, say, aquatic science, and a student took anatomy and physiology, that they get, as a group of students, you get a FTE for every time you put about 6 kids in a class. Every kid that walks into a class in districts, the majority of my districts and charters earns anywhere from $285 to $360 more taking a CTE science versus a standard science. It is the only funding in which a principal has control over once schools are assigned to their building. We do not have control over how many special ed students show up or how many kids are enrolled in general, but we do have control over what classes our students take. So if we're looking to affect students for a graduation success rate, CTE classes are the way to go. They have a higher graduation rate and a higher attendance rate. That should get your attention. And then on top of that, we have a higher funding rate. If you want more information on that, please attend one of our upcoming funding sessions that we have coming up. All right, so let's keep moving down here. And this is all through the sciences. And let's take a note here. Pursuant of Texas Education Code 28025C3, a student pursuing an arts and humanities endorsement who has written permission of the student's parent or person in standing or parental relation to the student may substitute a course that is not being used to satisfy another graduation requirement selected from Chapter 110, Chapter 113. So make sure you're paying attention to the finite notes as we get the rules for earning endorsements. Now, I want to move down now. Matter of fact, let me go back for a minute. I want to specify this. There's 7413E right here. And this is where we're told we have to earn a 4th math and a 4th science, an additional science credit. And then there's 7413F. We could literally draw a line in the sand and say, okay, everything after we read that letter F cannot have any modification to it. And that goes back over to the rule from chapter 89. So if we go back to our PowerPoint, let me get back to that. Are y'all seeing the PowerPoint? Mm-hmm. All right. So when we get into chapter 89, here we are. It says a student receiving special ed services may earn an endorsement under 7413. Satisfactorily completes the requirements for graduation under the Foundation's high school graduation program specified in 7412. That's the basic 22 credits, as well as the additional credits required in math, science, and elective courses specified in 7413E of this title with or without modification. Now, this is where a lot of people have gotten confused in the past. And I want to solidify this. 7413, anything you do in this area can be modified or not, which means that a student who wants to earn an endorsement, say in business and industry using welding 1 and welding 2, we'll go back to those 2 classes. As long as welding 1 and welding 2 is not modified, that student may earn an endorsement with all other classes being modified. Not accommodated, modified. And the reason I say that is this rule under chapter 89-1070 of the Texas Administrative Code, and that'll be C 1, 2, and 3, allows for a student to earn an endorsement who is SPED, who has modified classes, as long as the classes earning the endorsement are not modified. And that rule is here. Satisfactorily completes the courses required for the endorsement under 7413F of this title without any modified curriculum. Now let's go back over and look. I'll see that. Okay. Let's look again. So when we're in 7413E, which starts right here, anything that we do between that E and the F down here can be modified. So if we're working above the F, we're fine. Once we get down here, we cannot modify. So if you have a student that's going to earn a STEM endorsement, every student's going to earn STEM has to take Algebra 2, Chemistry, and Physics or Principles of Technology. These classes cannot be modified because they now fall under F. They're required for the endorsement. There are 5 options to earn a STEM endorsement. So let's jump in. Now I'm going to tell you, I really prefer to see some schools go, Principles of Technology versus Physics. That doesn't mean to get rid of your physics classes altogether. It just means if you can have kids that are more suited for Principles of Technology, it's a great class to have. And I want to show you why. We're going to move back up to Sciences. I want to find that rule. Credit may not be earned for both physics and principles of technology to satisfy science credit requirements. It's because they're the same class. They're learning the same TEKs. If you go and pull the TEKs on physics, principal technology, they're pretty much identical other than the advent of technology into this class. I advise schools that you can go ahead and add the term physics, principles technology to the front of that for your course manual so that people don't get a little freaked out when they see a different class and they don't see physics on the student's schedule. Also, people ask all the time, will the colleges accept principles of technology or physics? I can't answer for every college. When we start doing PGPs, personal graduation plans, which became a requirement of law under House Bill 5. So every student starting in ninth grade in 2014 is supposed to have a PGP, a personal graduation plan. Part of that personal graduation plan should be post-secondary goals. So if that student has a post-secondary goal of going to SFA or going to UNT or UT or Berkeley or University of Georgia, wherever they're going to go, that would be a question for the college, for the admissions team at that college. And I'll give you a hint. A lot of times there's a lot of flexibility in what they'll accept and won't accept. Now, when it comes to NCAA, there's very little flexibility. So be very careful with classes and make sure that they will end up on the NCAA eligibility list so you don't hurt athletes. Okay, so if we were going to have a student that took Algebra 2, Chemistry, and Principles of Technology, so let's go ahead and write that down. In order to earn our first STEM, if you want to take a note, let's just write down that every student that right now we're going to push through the option A of STEM, we're going to have them take Algebra 2, we're going to have them take Chemistry, and we're going to have them take the POT, Principles of Technology. Now, if you would do me a favor and right beside where you write down Principles of Technology, put a little O in parentheses. And that's going to stand for subchapter O of the chapter 130 because that comes out of the STEM coursework. So the Principles of Technology class comes out of STEM. I'm going to show you real quickly an option. I'm giving you options today. This doesn't mean you have to do these. This means these are options to give you an idea of how pluralistic it can be to earn an endorsement. So it says right here that a student has to take a coherent sequence of courses for 4 or more credits in career and technical education that consist of at least 2 courses in the same career cluster and at least 1 advanced CTE course. So let's go ahead and add Welding 1 and Welding 2 to that, because both of those classes come out of the manufacturing cluster. So right now our student's going to have POT, Welding 1 and Welding 2 for a total of 5 credits in CTE. So it says, I'm going to go back to the top, a coherent sequence of courses for 4 or more credits in career and technical education that consist of at least 2 courses in the same career cluster and at least 1 advanced CTE course. Our Welding 2 is going to be our advanced course based off of our Welding 1. The courses may be selected from chapter 130. That's where we're getting our welding courses from, and our POT are coming out of chapter 130 of it relating to the Texas Essential Knowledge and Skills, or chapter 127, which means if you had a student that say was working at doing a job, working at a welding, at a frame shop, welding big rig frames, that could count as well if they were doing that, say, for a job, and you had them on the career prep out of chapter 127. Or CTE innovative courses approved by the Commissioner of Education. Side note on that, the innovative courses are getting ready to be released to where they'll be accessible on the internet. They'll always tell you, anytime you do an innovative course, you got to have school board approval. So now that I've segued our way all the way out of this, let's go back to the top. A coherent sequence of 4 courses, or 4 or more credits in CTE that consists of at least 2 credits in the same career cluster and at least 1 advanced course. Welding 2 is going to be our advanced to Welding 1. The course may be selected from chapter 130 or 127 or CTE innovative courses. The final course in the sequence must come from chapter 130 subchapter O. That's where our Principles of Technology is. So right now we have a student who's taken Algebra 2, Chemistry, and Physics along with all their other coursework, Welding 1 and Welding 2, and we will be able to award that student a STEM endorsement. I really also like this type of pathway when we're using Principles of Tech for our CNA students. I'm a little concerned with CNA simply because that job only pays about $10 to $14 an hour at max. You need to break $14.50 an hour to have a livable wage in the state of Texas. I'm really scared for students if they would think that being a CNA is the be-all of be-alls, that that's a career. It's not a career path, it's a stepping stone. Now, we do have students with limited capabilities that might be the case, but that's not the majority of our students in the state of Texas. We have over 5 million students in the state of Texas. We want them to be in jobs that allow them to earn a livable wage in the state of Texas. And the livable wage right now, the bottom of the livable wage is $14.50 an hour. So when I say things like that, I know you can earn the public services with a CNA. I really like to see them also encouraged to be in STEM to get all the math and science possible to prepare them for LVN, LPN, or RN type courses moving forward if they choose to stay in the healthcare field. Let's go to the second option. The second option for earning an endorsement in STEM, they still have to have Algebra 2, chemistry, and physics or principles of technology. Every student that's going to use any option has to have those 3 base courses. And then they could use option B. Now, option B specifies specifically 14 classes. You would only allow the student to take, if you're using option B, 4 of these classes out of the 14 selected. Now let's go to option C. 3 credits in math by successfully completing Algebra 2. Now remember, Algebra 1 is a prerequisite for Algebra 2, but geometry is not. So we're looking to see what the State Board of Education is going to say, if they're still going to require all high school students to take geometry. We're not sure. So we're waiting to see how that's going to work out based off of House Bill 826. But for right now, we know that they have to have 3 credits in math by successfully completing Algebra 2. And 2 additional math courses for which Algebra 2 is a prerequisite. Now, if you remember, algebraic reasoning and statistics are not prerequisited by Algebra 2. Do not use those to earn this endorsement. This would be more like a, say, math for medical professionals and a pre-cal or a college level math course that you're taking, something of that nature. If you need help with that, just give us a ring and we'll help you out. Also, option D, here's the 4th option. 4 credits in science by successfully completing chemistry, physics, and 2 additional science courses by selecting those from subsection E5. Now, if you look, this one references E2 for math and represents E5. Now, if we go back, I want to go back up here to E2 for the math and talk about that. So remember, it said that you had to have one that had a prerequisite of Algebra 2. These 2 courses do not. So it would be any course on this list, save these 2. Now, if we go down to the sciences, it'll be any course on this list from 5. So they already talked about chemistry and physics, so you can select any of these other 2 additional science courses for a student to earn an endorsement that way through STEM if you were heavy in science. Now, here's where it gets real fun. In addition to Algebra 2, chemistry, and physics, a coherent sequence of 3 additional credits from no more than 2 categories or disciplines presented in subparagraphs A, B, C, and D. That's right. You can go back up, and as long as you don't have, you can have, in addition to these, 3 additional credits. So essentially, if I had a kid that did any CTE course coupled with computer science 1 and 2, I could do it that way. Or if I have something from the sciences, I had 2 courses from science. So there's a lot of ways you can mix that up as long as you follow the basic rule of having Algebra 2, chemistry, and physics, and then choosing 3 additional credits from no more than 2 of A, B, C, or D. If you need help or any kind of guidance on that, please email us. We'll gladly help out with that. Let's move on down to business and industry. A student may earn a business and industry endorsement by completing the requirements in subsection E, which is the 4th, the additional math and the additional science, and a coherent sequence of courses. Remember who sets the coherent sequence? It's you all at the district level. For 4 or more credits in CTE that consist of at least 2 courses in the same career cluster and at least 1 advanced CTE course. You all set the advanced courses based off of prerequisites within your district. The courses may be selected from chapter 130 of this title and 127, or CTE innovative courses. The final course in the sequence must be selected from the following. And the idea would be, if you notice in here, we don't see education. Say you had a student that wanted to be a agricultural teacher, and you had them take 3 credits in education and then 1 credit of principles of agriculture. I would advise a little bit more advanced if they're going to be a teacher. So let's just say ag mech. So a coherent sequence of courses for 4 or more credits in CTE that consist of at least 2 courses in the same career cluster. If you notice, subchapter E for education is not here, but we're going to take 3 classes out of E. And we also, we know that when you get into human growth and development, we're going to have some advanced courses in there. The courses may be selected from 130 or 127 or innovative courses, and the final course in the sequence must be selected from the following. So you could essentially have a student earn an endorsement in business and industry with only taking 1 of these courses and a series of 3 other courses. That doesn't mean it's the best idea, though. That is an option. I would say that I would want a student to have at least 2 courses from one of these subchapters to solidify that they're moving towards that particular skill set. Because what we're trying to do is prepare students for post-secondary readiness And we're trying to get away from that old theory of hodgepodge, where they just take a multitude of classes that really don't guide them into any one career field. So yes, there are options out there. I don't necessarily recommend exercising those, but I didn't want you to not be aware of them, because sometimes when we get seniors that transfer in with a really messy transcript, if we notice that they have 3 CTE classes and none of them are from the same chapter, as long as we can add one more from a chapter they already have, we can start to earn them an endorsement in a specific area. If you need help with that, just give us a call. But once again, option A for business industry is a coherent sequence of 4 or more credits in CTE that consist of at least 2 in the same career cluster, at least 1 advanced course that's set by the district. The course may be selected from chapter 130 or 127, or even the innovative courses. Now, you don't use an innovative course as a final course. And the final course in the sequence must be selected from one of the following chapters. Also, remember, new to this year coming in, it came in at 16-17, you can use career prep 1 or 2 and problems and solutions, which will become project-based learning next year. In chapter 127 of this title, if the course addresses the career field listed. So if you had a student that was working on a farm, just make sure that you're following the Texas Workforce Commission's child labor laws. That wouldn't be an issue. I would be very careful about students who work, say, at McDonald's. I don't see how that would fit into anything but maybe business management. And I would be careful with that unless they were learning shift leader type techniques. Because a lot of people say, what about marketing? Well, I'm not sure they're going to be marketing for McDonald's. If we look at what the definition of marketing is, that's probably not a good fit. You can request more information on that if you like. 4 English credits by selecting courses from chapter 110 of this title to include 3 levels in one of the following areas: public speaking, debate, journalism, newspaper, yearbook, literary magazine, or design and media production, or literary magazine. And then we move to our third option, 4 technology application credits. Now remember, technology applications is non-CTE. So these are not CTE classes. These are going to be your standard elective classes. So you have digital and media production, or digital art and animation. So what it says is 4 technology application credits from selected from the following. So there has to be specifically off this list of 9 classes. And then the last option is a coherent sequence of 4 credits from A, B, or C. So if you all decide that there is a coherent sequence of these 3 combined, then you may allow for a student to earn an endorsement by combining all 3. So they could have, like, say, yearbook 1 and 2 and intro to ag and ag mech. That would be a sequence that you could use if you like, based off of the D. And I technically like to nickname that the hodgepodge rule. That's not necessarily its name, but that does allow for you to hodgepodge classes. I kind of advise against that unless it's a senior that's coming to you that just needs help. Public services. A student may earn a public services endorsement by completing the following requirements. Once again, a coherent sequence of courses for 4 or more credits in CTE that consist of at least 2 courses in the same career cluster and at least 1 advanced course. So remember, we have 16 career clusters tied directly to 16 chapters. So anytime you see the word cluster, just think of chapter, and that's going to be in chapter 130. We have A through, I'm thinking, I should have memorized that one. But we have a total of 16 career chapters. I want to say P, but I think I'm wrong. I don't think there's a P. I think it stops with O. So they can earn a coherent sequence of 4 or more credits in CTE that consists of at least 2 courses in the same career cluster, at least 1 advanced course. Remember, the coherent sequence is established by you and your district, and the advanced courses are established by the district themselves. The courses may be selected from chapter 130 or 127, or the CTE innovative courses provided by the commissioner. The final course in the sequence must be selected from. So in order to earn a public services endorsement, you have to have at least 1 course out of these subchapters, E, G, H, J, or L, or you can use chapter 127 if it applies directly to the field at hand. So I don't see how, other than maybe food prep, and I'm not sure that's a really good one, how a job at a standard job at McDonald's, or say a food store or AutoZone or something like that, would shore up my confidence that that's what they were doing to earn one of these endorsements and move into that as job field. And also remember, there's also the 4 courses in JROTC. So if you have a JROTC program, a student can earn 4 credits in that, and also earn a public services endorsement. Arts and humanities, remember, once again, there is nothing from chapter 130. So if we do use floral design for a student to earn a fine arts credit to earn for graduation, that does not necessarily translate into earning an arts and humanities endorsement. They can do that via 5 social studies credits from chapter 113, or 4 levels of the same language other than English, or 2 levels of the same language in 2 different languages. So for here, it would be like, say, levels 1 through 4 of Spanish, or level 1 through 4 of French. Here it would be, say, Spanish 1 and 2 and French 1 and 2. And then here is 4 levels in American Sign Language. A coherent sequence of 4 core credits by selecting courses from 1 or 2 categories or disciplines in fine arts from chapter 117. And that's where you're going to have a student that, say, would take band 1 and 2, theater 1 and 2, or technical theater 1 and 2, and dance 1 and 2, things of that nature. That's where that's coming from with chapter 127, or 4 English credits from the following. English 4, so English 1, 2, and 3 wouldn't fall under this. It'd be English 4, independent studies in English, literary genres. If you notice, there's a group in the AP English classes. So you'd have to select from that specifically. And if you notice, there's not one in here that says that you may go back and do the hodgepodge. So Arts and Humanities is a little bit more finite than the previous 3 chapters. And then multidisciplinary. A student may earn a multidisciplinary studies endorsed by completing requirements in the following: 4 advanced courses that prepare a student to enter the workforce successfully or post-secondary education without remediation from within 1 endorsement area or among endorsement areas that are not in a coherent sequence. These advanced courses are defined within the district itself. So when they talk about this, you're not going to find a list from TEA. This will come from inside the district. So 4 advanced courses that prepare a student to enter the workforce successfully or post-secondary education without remediation from within 1 endorsement area or among endorsement areas that are not in a coherent sequence, and it's not definitive to CTE courses either. So that might throw you a little bit. That isn't just for CTE, that is for advanced courses, all the things you've already seen in the previous 4 endorsement areas. In my opinion, B is the most dangerous for special ed students. 4 credits in each of the 4 foundations areas, including English 4 and chemistry and or physics. If your fallback is multidisciplinary, and especially if it's B, understand that because it falls under 7413 F5B, those students would have to have 16 credits core that have no modifications to agree with chapter 89.1070. So if you want to put that in your notes, multidisciplinary, option B, requires 16 credits, 4 in each of the 4 foundation areas, with no modification whatsoever to be in compliance with Texas Administrative Code 89.1070. They could also earn it with 4 credits in advanced placement or IB classes. AP or IB are dual credits selected from English, math, science, social studies, economics, languages other than English, and or fine arts. And then lastly, a course completed as part of a set of 4 courses needed to satisfy an endorsement requirement may also satisfy a requirement under 7412B and C. Now what this is, this says that, say you had a student that used agricultural math. Let's say we're using ag math to satisfy one of our math requirements and anatomy and physiology to satisfy one of our science requirements. Those classes could also be used to earn an endorsement. So they'd be used for the graduation credit for science and math, but they'd also be used to earn an endorsement. As long as the student has a total of 26 credits and has completed a 4th or an additional math and an additional science. Now, if we come back over originally, if y'all remember, we were talking, I want to look at the CO22 for a minute. Let me show you this document when it opens. Are y'all seeing the COTDS? Mm-hmm. Okay. So we go down, I'm just going to type in agriculture. I just want y'all to be familiar. If you don't use this document, please download or check the email I sent out earlier. Make sure that you see that CO22. It has all 16, it actually all has 17. It starts with chapter 127. It has the junior high, the middle school, and the high school. When you see this H over here, not the M, but the H, that means you're being awarded funding. Also notice that this year, it tells you the credit you can earn. It doesn't tell you how long you have to be in the class unless it's specified in chapter 5 of the Student Attendance Accountability Handbook. So if you're going to do a career prep or a career practicum, please, please, please reference chapter 5.7 and 5.72 of the Student Attendance Accountability Handbook. I'm going to say that once again. If you're teaching career preparation or you're teaching career practicum, please, please, please reference chapter 5.7 and 5.72 of the Student Attendance Accountability Handbook for guidance and rules on the time requirements and on site or in training for students taking those classes. If you notice, you'll see all of the PEAM service ID codes here. They all start off with a 130 if they're in one of the 16 chapters that are dealing with directly with careers. If they're one of the pluristic chapters like the career prep or the project-based research, then that is going to be under chapter 127. Also, if you'll notice, there's a letter that came out recently addressed to the administrator that said certain courses will be allowed to be taken twice for credit. Well, this is how that looks. If you had project-based research taken the first time, it would be housed under 127, 1500. If that student took it again, say their senior year, then it would be housed under 127 or 1270, 1510. That class could also be taken the third time. So if you start a student in project-based research in sophomore year, they can essentially take that class for 3 years under 3 different PEAM service ID codes. Now let's go down and look at the career practicum. Let me find a practicum here. Here we go. Here's a practicum in agriculture, food, and natural resources. If you notice, there's a 2-credit course and a 3-credit course. The first time taking the practicum we'll use, if we're doing the 2 credits, it's going to be a 1300, 2500 for 2 credits, and that's the PEAM service ID code. If it's taken for 3 credits the first time, then we're going to house it under 1300, 2505. The second time would be here. There is no third time option for practicum classes. Also, be very aware if it's paid for versus unpaid with practicums. If it's a paid for practicum, you've got to follow the Texas Workforce Commission's rules for that student to be 16 years of age or older. So practicums can only be taken for 2 years, and they have 2 distinctive different. There's actually a total of 4 PEAM service ID codes for the 2 different courses. So you either have it taken the first year or the second year for 2 or 3 credits. If you need help with that, please reach out to us. Here's an example of an innovative course. Say you were going to teach oil and gas production 3. That's an N1300256. So anytime that you're in the CO22 and you see a November identifier, an N November identifier, that means that it is a innovative class. Innovative classes are housed not by TEA. They could be housed by a local school district or an entity that's outside a private organization, say like Project Lead the Way. And those courses have to have your school board's approval. Some districts already have overall approval to teach innovative courses and the board's already signed off. Some districts have to have individual course approval. Please, please, please cite your district policy. Do not simply have those classes. Region 10 highly recommends that you consult with district policy before moving forward on teaching any innovative class. Once again, we'll get in, there's subchapter B. We're going to go down through and look at a few of the chapters here. And most importantly is the fact that this is where we see that there is a differentiation. If you see a lab, if you have a lab-based class versus a content-based class, the district has the option to teach it either just content-based or to teach it with a lab. If you're going to teach it with a lab, you would cite it under this reference number, this service PEAM's service ID code. If you're going to teach it without the lab, it would be cited here. That's a touch. We're just touching on that. So let's get out of that document. And I want to open the core academic credit document. So are y'all seeing this? Mm-hmm. Okay, cool. So when you get to this document, this is a current draft. It's not official. This is a Region 10 created draft. Please feel free to use it. It does link directly to Chapter 231 of the Texas Education Agency's website. So let's say that we were going to teach financial math, and we want to know who all can teach financial math. This is a great class for seniors. If you're teaching math models simply because you have seniors that don't want to take a math with letters in it, I highly encourage you to have them take financial math. If you saw the TEKS, it would blow your socks off. It goes from customer service to managing a bank account to looking at earning income via the stock market and interest rates as well. And seeing that we're over $1.26 trillion in student loan debt and $755 billion in credit card debt, I would like to see us as a nation start to turn the tide and turn that around. But let's look at who can teach the financial math class. You'll be surprised if you didn't already know. So look here, the first 3 are going to be CTE courses, CTE certified teachers. So any business or office. And then number 2 is a business and finance 6 through 12. Now, anytime you see it written of this nature, it should look just like this on their certification. Now, on this line here, if they have the word business or they have the word office on any of their certifications, they can teach this class. And then there's the math class. These are actual core teachers. These are just standard core teacher certifications that can also teach this class, math through 7 through 12, math 8 through 12. If you see this one, sometimes I've seen this one get people, it's not math or physical or engineering. It is MP&E. It's math, physical science, engineering, grades 6 through 12. So it would be written out holistically like that, and then physics and math. Now, let me get out of that and get back over to our original document here. Core academic. Y'all seeing that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And I want to go down and just for an example, I'm going to show you advanced animal science. I want to show you where that is going to tell you that they have to have an additional training. So the certifications are right here: any vocational, the ag science and technology, the ag food natural resources, and then the life science, science 7 through 12. But for this example, I want to highlight B. B says that all teachers assigned to these courses shall participate in a Texas Education Agency approved training prior to. Now, let me get out of here. I'm going to close that tab. Let me go back and close that tab. Okay, and I'm going to open another document that's on our website or on our CTE website. And what that is the gateway training links. This is a draft document. It's not official from TEA. This is a Region 10 created document. But it does link you to the gateway site. So right now, business English, digital electronics, financial math, any class listed here with these PEAM service ID codes does not technically have a B if you were to check these certifications. They're not going to require additional training. However, I do highly recommend that if you have a teacher that's never taught CTE or as a core, have them go on in and sign up for this course so they can go ahead and take career and technical education. This course provides an overview of CTE in Texas and how it's implemented at the state and local levels. Teachers who are not certified in CTE and who wish to teach one of the CTE courses for math or science must complete CTE 101. CTE teachers may complete CTE 101, but it's not required. So it is a requirement for our core teachers that are teaching those ones with the letter B. It's not required otherwise. But I do highly recommend that you have your teachers that are going to be involved in the CTE, including your CTE teachers, go ahead and take that. And that is housed under TEA and also offers 4 CPE hours. And if you notice here, this is the science safety. So if we have, say, an ag teacher that's going to teach math, agriculture, natural resources, and they have never been through science safety for the classroom, they need to take this course. So if you had say a biology teacher teaching math let me get down to it, the advanced animal science, then I would want that teacher to take the CT 101 and the ag science course that's listed here, parts 1 through 6. If I had an ag teacher teaching it, I would want them to take the science safety and the ag science class listed here. And if you notice, we have the links directly to, so part 2 will take you right to part 2. It kind of clears it up. I like this sheet because what it does is it allows you to quickly look from an administrative level or from an advisory level, if you're the department chair, and tell people what's needed if we're going to teach those classes. This is that additional training. Now, if you're just now hiring or you're just now changing your master schedule and you figure out, wait a minute, we're going to move to advanced animal science, don't panic. The teacher can go ahead and start immediately taking the coursework. They do not necessarily have to finish it before they start teaching the class. If you can at all get them finished before they start teaching the class, it's great because it's going to help them. But it's TEA understands when we have new hires come in that some things aren't always going to be perfect for us. So just food for thought on that one. And let's see. So we've covered chapter 89. We've covered the core. We've covered gateway trainings, the CO22, and the endorsements. So that is it. It's 9:55. We're going to wrap up. Let me go back over to the slide. I'm going to show you. There is my email address. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to email me at travis.waddell@region10.org. Also, feel free to call at 972-348-1334. It is 9:55. I will be available on the phone today after 10:30. So if you'd like to call and chat, by all means. I hope you enjoyed our webinar. It has been recorded. It will be sent out within the next 48 hours so that you may be able to view that webinar and see it again in case you wanted to hear it again, or if I said anything that you wanted to take notes on once again. Once again, do not hesitate to call. Do not hesitate to email. Please join us for future sessions. We'll be sending out emails on our listserv on those future sessions. If you're not on our current listserv, please email me here and say, hey, Travis, get me on the listserv. So Jason Cooper and I can take care of you. We look forward to hearing more from you. We're going to go ahead and stop the webinar. Have a great day, and thank you for attending.